Hello everybody, I'm Bunnyton and welcome to my channel. I just love spooky season. It's one of my favorite times of the year. So of course I had to do some spooky stuff to celebrate. And this year I went to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios in California. I went in September since I had some friends visiting and we all wanted to go together. I've always gone to the Florida one in the past, so the California park was new to me. We had bought tickets a week in advance and saw they had interesting and exciting haunted houses for 2025. They had the Terror Tram, Enter the Blumhouse, Five Nights at Freddy's, Terrifier, Fallout, Jason Universe, WWE Presents, The Horror of the Wyatt of the Six, Poltergeist, Scarecrow, and Monstrous 3, The Ghost of Latin America. Other than the haunted houses, they had a few shows, themed food items, and, of course, the spooky characters walking around in their designated scare zones. I knew I wasn't going to be able to do everything, so my main goal was to do the Five Nights at Freddy's haunted house and then whatever else I could squeeze in. So to just jump into it, we headed to the park. We ended up paying a little extra for the parking so we didn't have to walk a long way to get to the main part of Universal Studios. Basically, we skipped walking through the city walk section. Once we made it up the escalators, we were greeted by the entrance, cool music, and fancy lights. I was really enjoying the music they had playing and the overall vibe. The music made me want to do some headbanging, not gonna lie. We saw a bunch of shops and even a photo shoot area with creepy clown props. I'm not a fan of clowns, but I really felt the clowns elevated the creepy factor, so I was into it. They had a Chucky themed bar right near the front, so we ended up checking it out. Inside they had a convincing animatronic Chucky doll, which was super cool to see. I liked that he was holding a little drink mixer to fit the bar vibes. I ended up not getting anything from the bar since I'm allergic to alcohol. My friends did indulge a bit in the drinks later on in the night, and they seemed to like what they had to offer. They also had a hilarious Chucky-themed Hello Kitty popcorn bucket that was Hello Kitty driving her car. I never thought I would see a Chucky and Hello Kitty collab in my life, so that was surprising and really funny to me. I was very tempted to get it just because I'm a Hello Kitty fan, and Chucky was one of the first horror-themed characters to spook me as a child. I decided against it as I didn't want to carry it around, and I also just don't eat a lot of popcorn. As we walked around, we stumbled upon the Purge Dangerous Water Show. It was right about to start and not many people had gone in to watch it yet, so we thought now was a good time to enjoy it. We found some really good seats to view the show, so nothing was obscured from our view. Spoiler warning, if you plan on seeing the show, I was given permission to film, so here are some scenes. I think the plot was pretty neat. Basically, the guy who created the Purge was being hunted down for revenge. The main characters had lost family members because of the Purge laws, and that's why they wanted to take out the creator of the Purge. If you have never seen The Purge, just to fill you in, The Purge is a fictional story that takes place in America where for one day all crimes are legal. So a lot of people go out of their way to do crimes on that day and a lot of people get hurt. That's kind of the gist of things, not to spoil it too much. The show's special effects were really well done, maybe too well done. There were some pretty gruesome scenes where body parts just get chopped off, which made me a little queasy. They had a lot of pyrotechnics as well throughout the entire show, which was always fun to see. After the Purge, we walked around and saw some more creepy clown characters walking around as well as more props. Then we saw the sign for Chainsaw Man, The Chaos, which was a 4D show. The funny thing is, I actually saw this show last year in 2024 at Japan's Universal Studios with my partner, but our friends hadn't seen it yet. So we thought it would be a fun experience for them. So we went into the theater waiting area and there were balloons, people were hitting around. I wanted to smack it, but I never got the chance. One of my friends were, however, able to smack it around a little bit right before they let us into the theater. There was also an explanation for the movie in a little spooky video. I was surprised that the short film before entering the theater was the exact explanation they had in Japan, like completely in Japanese, even saying Universal Studios Japan. The only difference was they added subtitles. I thought it was a bit lazy they didn't at least edit the Universal Studios Japan part to account for the fact that we are in America. But other than that, the main character Smiley was fun to see on screen. So I have a few takeaways now that I've seen the show twice, once in Japan, now in America. I noticed that in America theaters, they didn't give us 4D glasses, so the show's full potential wasn't being displayed. However, it still worked pretty well despite not having the glasses like we did in Japan. Japan's theater also encompassed more of the room, while America's theater used a projection on the walls to kind of give it more of an illusion that the screen was bigger than it was. I will say my Japanese wasn't good enough to fully understand what was being said while I was watching it in Japan, but since the American version had subtitles, I was able to enjoy the story a bit more. We headed out of the theater and decided it was time to make a beeline for Five Nights at Freddy's. On the way there, we saw these huge crow characters walking around and some props that were crow themed. They were really fun to look at. I really enjoyed them a bit more than the clowns, but I certainly did not want one next to me as I have a bit of a phobia of animal costumes. I can tolerate them from far away, but not up close. Which brings me to my next fear, the Five Nights at Freddy's animatronics. I was really nervous about going into this haunted house because of my phobia with animal costumes. I was very anxious, but I wanted to challenge myself to face my fears, and I didn't want to let my friends down as this was the main attraction for us. As we walked, there were these really cool masks. My partner was really close to getting one, but they were a bit pricey, so we passed on them. The walk to Freddy's was pretty far. We had to walk through Krusty Land and down to the lower lots. There were these insanely steep escalators that honestly were one of the scarier parts of the night, for me at least. I'm not particularly afraid of heights, but the way the escalators were angled made me feel like if I even let out a single toot, I'd be thrown off balance and yeeted to the bottom. Being originally from Florida, I'm not used to such steep slopes, as Florida is as flat as it possibly can be. Eventually we made it to the Five Nights at Freddy's line, and it was a 120-minute wait to get to the haunted house. We sat towards the end of the line for what felt like forever as they let in special pass holders in ahead of us. When we were finally allowed to go, there was another incredibly long line we had to wait in. Then finally it was our turn and we got to enter. I felt like I was about to have an anxiety attack as we were entering because of the fact I knew people with animatronic costumes would be in there. However, I was wrong. They were legit animatronics, so I wasn't scared at all. I was able to get permission to film, so here it is. I thought they did a really good job at accurately depicting the characters and locations. It really felt well done and had a lot of thought put into it. My favorite part of the walkthrough was you could see the story aspects of the game sprinkled in through the entire thing. My only complaint is they had a lot of employees rushing you through every corner, so it kind of felt less immersive because of that, not to mention the massive amount of people going through with you. However, I feel like I can't fault the park too much for that because it would have gotten pretty crazy with everyone trying to stop and take pictures if the employees weren't there to push people through. When we exited Five Nights at Freddy's, we wanted to go to Fallout next since that was the second most important thing everyone wanted to do. We got lost on the way to Fallout and ended up in the Harry Potter part of the theme park. They had some neat projections happening on the Hogwarts castle, as well as scary noises being blasted at you that were Harry Potter themed. Eventually, we did find Fallout. The haunted house was based off of the Fallout TV series, not the game version of Fallout. I had not played Fallout or have seen the show, so this was an interesting introduction to the franchise. I was also given permission to film here, so enjoy the highlights. I overall enjoyed the haunted house, so no real complaints. There weren't as many people going into this one at the time. I think it was like a 10-minute wait when we went through, but it felt more like 20. Since there were less people, we were able to walk through a little slower and be more immersed. Since we hit all of the main attractions that were important to us, we decided to just squeeze in whatever we could before we got too exhausted. We ended up stumbling upon the WWE Presents Horrors of the Wyatt 6 Rip Tour. We were kind of baffled at this one initially because the premise sounded strange because we weren't in the know about WWE lore or WWE in general. What we were told was it was a wrestling bayou from one of the employees working at the park. We were tickled at the idea of a wrestling horror house, because how is that scary? But we were also confused in why the bayou was involved. We had a friend tell us later that it was to honor the wrestler Wyndham Rotunda, better known as former WWE champion Bray Wyatt, who died on August 24, 2023. Wyndham had a heart condition that was made worse by COVID-19, which eventually led him to passing from a heart attack at the age of 36. His wrestler persona was Bray Wyatt, a villainous bayou cult leader of Wyatt 6. So after learning all of that, and that the haunted house was to honor his memory, everything made sense. It was sad learning that a wrestler legend had died so young, and refreshing to see his friends trying to honor him the best they knew how. It was nice to be able to participate in honoring his life as a WWE champion. With that said, this was the scariest house we went in, which is ironic considering we didn't think it'd be scary at all. I got it all on film with permission, so here it is. While I was playing this clip back to edit, I couldn't help but notice I sounded like Toad from Mario every time I scream. Guys, I'm so dead. I cannot believe that's what I sound like. Anyway, this ended up being my favorite haunted house of the night. The lore was interesting, it was scary, put together well, and I got to participate in honoring someone's life. Hard to beat that. By this time it was getting late, so we had time for maybe a couple more things. We decided to go ride the Mummy ride and get a snack. The Mummy ride is my personal favorite ride at Universal. It's indoors, it's fast, air shoots at you, it's got cool props. I mean, it's the Mummy. The movies are really entertaining and a part of my childhood, so I'm probably a bit biased. I didn't film us going on the Mummy as my energy was getting low, and I also didn't want to lose my phone. After the Mummy, we got some snacks from the Day of the Dead themed area, and I got a concha. I've never had one of these before. It had a nice light flavor and was like eating a sweet dense bread of sort. It was a bit dry though, so I had to chug some water when I ate it. It had a literal sugar skull on top that I quite enjoyed. That was pretty much my entire night at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights in California. It was a really fun experience, and I hope to go again and maybe squeeze in more haunted houses next time. I was so happy that we parked super close because my feet were aching at the end of the night. We left the park close to 2 a.m. and passed out as soon as we got home pretty much. I have done a lot of Halloween Horror Nights in the past at the Florida location, and I gotta say this was probably one of my favorite times I've gone. The Florida park is more spread out, so I was happy that the California park was a little bit more condensed and easier to walk through, minus those crazy escalators. If you've never gone to Halloween Horror Nights, I recommend going if you ever get a chance. It's quite the experience to share with family and friends. Have you ever been to a theme park haunted house? Let me know down in the comments below. But bye everybody, I'll see you next time.